싱그도에 고도와 삼바
Lari, ay,
몰랐어.
bugudu.
어야 다들은 거 빠치들 양 강아진 최소한 빠치들 아 빠치 뭐 빠치들 말이 다들 컴퓨터 거 빠치들이 네
We're having some hindrances with our computer here.
몰랐어.
With the picture.
나서 언니다 응아주 인공 잡로게 아니 추튼 참 니마께게 추튼되니 마 되시네 멘트데 아니 로야인지
We'll continue on with our next session of our 1 or 2 day retreat.
one day retreat 도와 아니 다 텔레양 추트를 그 뭐라 아니 좋은 지숨 차상 상토와지 추트를 그 뭐라 아니 좋았음지 담바 아니 추트 그 의지 값은 의지 담바 아니 추트 그 욕 값은 용화 담바 교와 간지 세와 있나야 아니 공롱 아니 의지 아니 뭐암모남 다 디숨데 뺏겠지 뭐 차대요 이지
So at this session of teaching, we want to make it complete, as we do with every Dharma action or positive practice, that of preliminary, main action, and conclusion. To always have these instructions in mind, which is at the beginning to set our pure motivation or vast bodhicitta motivation. In the middle, the main practice to remain undistracted during that, and to remain focused on its true nature, and finally at the end to make a dedication prayer. So these three components should always be present in every practice we do.
Any tela, Tangachu, Takin, Trot in the Rinpoche Dangema, Laki, any Ta Lhawang Tashi the Danga Tikinani, any give your turn, Tomagui, you may give your new boy. You watch the Pomagui, in shit in a round rings. Give your turn it all, Magu. You may give your new boy in Seate. Jetan di nani, give your Seate. Look, give your tongue. Maga give your tongue. Any Simka give your sum, yoga you to Zani. You meet Seate, Simla go away to Zani. Look, give your tongue, Maga give your nile young, and then look, give your the kitchen boys. Look, give your the knee lying. And in number mambo jurite, nor dupagoniciana, mying watching, you want me betoni give your siate. You make a give your siate, din and you make give your siate. Look goni give your siki yonayan, seem to tell a mying what they. Mahagani batanga yona, seem to tell a mying what they. The count that just seem take a time of sim to be just Look give your tea, same game, you make a tony simbarasi. Mahaka give your tea, same key, you make a tony simbarasine. The unique Tisimbata Mazepa, you meet say at the Nijang, Tony Katawa, Dame, but I Jetebaina. Look at Saki gave out Nagasaki gave out the Tamasami gave out a child. Bena Jajila, Silkin Jusatawaina, Sinjo Zatawaina, Jate, Dote, Selling Jorowa. Betina ye. Look give out an aga give a jana he de layang. Any Tony Katawa, the Sancho sink a second just an aji tawaina, and a rahi, Sami Kichu Chano. You meet give you Lucia Mambo Coyado.
You don't need to worry about other spiritual practices to be done. Being without distraction is the heart of spiritual practice. You don't need to deliberately abandon distractions. If your mindfulness is firm, things are spontaneously liberated. So in speaking about the other practices to be done, this is particularly referring to physical and verbal practices, because the main practice is the mental practice, and if we are without distraction in our mind, then this will lead to our actions of body and speech to also be positive and virtuous. And in terms of abandoning distractions, this has a lot of meaning. Not only that, it was just mentioned, but just like if a elixir is going to have an alchemical effect to transform iron into gold, if that mental application that we bring to what we're doing, that we bring to the practice, has the insight into the selfless nature, actual true nature of things, then our virtues are transformed into uncontaminated virtues, whereas the actions of the body and the speech would be relative, conventional, or contaminated virtues to begin with. If they're sustained by the mind that sees the true nature of things, sees the selfless nature of phenomena, then those actions also are transformed into uncontaminated virtues. They become causes for liberation.
Namjung at Sakyesia, the Samisia de la Koya Yurin, Dinani Sakyesia the Kalako Yurisidani, Luke Gewata, Naga Gewatin, Duzeg Gewaris. Mewar Chanogoris. Pena, the Renchurank Luigi Gewachi Sayona, Ningon Jablola, any magic la Kongtrul Sana, and it gave out the kitchen near a lot. And it Hana Ying can the give you loss of can you say you are in a young? Any Chinchil and Tewaina get on the bed, you yes, Yuri. Mamuba Lopanuba, Mamuba Siate, get up on the Mahuni Yajana, get at the same. Lopan who say I take Drani Sene, Rangus Hall, a Chabawanka home. Yina Mahuba sin, Lopanuba. Yina draws it and only give out the data say in any. Yina Najan won't so Tony Dran. She de Vayina gets on the same. Mahuba Lopan, Yina data. And then Jubachisi. And then Jubachisi now, then give out the saying that and drink my child, I give a say that you give out and Jubachi or Wayna and gets out and say no. The get on this, a chishu the carriage is in a control. Control. The control around all you color of a mambochi or control lansaki. What the dean did on it, the Luchi gave out and Naki gave out any ticket-hole young Yuri. Sakia gave out in the Tan in Zero Yuris. Luchi gave out the Manzele Tapshi carrot, Tapshi Yuri, Carre Yurisina. Tony Gatawe Jetten, Tata Churank Sergeant Citalitella. Corso Memek Baka Tony Gatawendu, Sinyam Yakatoli Jeje Tawaina. They Luchi give out the Simple seem to give us a mikan on the left side. They give out the two Namian Zegamari. Penangarantona, Pesha Iwa. Pesha Binkin and Java ina. 7 bank the chicken banks in Idoa. 7 banking and Yawa 19 Zayame at Koran. She's one ordinary.
So the meaning of contaminated or uncontaminated here in Tibetan, it's zagche, contaminated, or zagme, uncontaminated. When this is when the term contaminated is used to refer to the physical and verbal actions or virtues, the sense is that they're conventional, they're relative, that they're compounded virtues, which will not remain stable, but will be lost or can be lost. For instance, if we have done some virtuous practices of prostration or some kind of physical practice, in the morning, in the afternoon, if we meet someone and get upset with them, get angry, then this can cause the force of that positive action that we've created to be lost, to be weakened. And in general, there are 4 different kinds of factors that cause virtuous actions to be weakened or destroyed. First, not liking to do them, not wanting to do them, having partisanship, being doing them without doing them with a partisan attitude. My side is more important than another side, or doing them with pride, where one's arrogant to think, oh, I did such and such, or after doing some kind of positive action, then developing regret about it, not feeling happy to have done it. These are causes for undermining and destroying positive energy, and especially anger. Anger is very destructive force. So if we do want to preserve the positive energy of those practices that we do, the way to do that, really the only way to do it, is to seal it with understanding of selflessness, understanding of the emptiness of the 3 spheres of the agent, the action, and the object, all lacking independent existence, independent of each other. So, say we've made prostrations. As we're doing that, if we can remain mindful of these 3 spheres of the action, the selflessness of the 3 spheres of the action, or as we're finishing, then contemplate that and put that kind of seal on it, then this is what will preserve those positive actions, the positive energy of actions of body and speech, such that they will not be lost. They will then be preserved forever. And so, we can compare it to like putting money in the bank, a savings bank, not a checking account where you're just going to be all spending it, all the time, but where you're actually putting it in there and it's just accruing interest.
Lasso. Tinshiti rando yi nimong do tramuku. Tate pe abodoa tinshiti diki yoris. Nimong gri samba cheke churan nimong tra ko maris. Nabja judu churan tinshi waina nimong yongo maris. O tende inditsane tinshiti rahi ka tondo koris. Nimong tra ko maris sumari. Nimong kan cargo ni.
We maintain mindfulness and introspection, then afflictions will not occur. We won't have to be afraid of afflicted states of mind arising. This is wonderful.
Nyumong cargo ne, nyumong goi nani. Tinshik dong zong sine. Pe yakuri, pe na commander chi nana yoko yona, kosong mom and that you can make dasim the going on the guard yura. Te pe kali yakuri citizane, and the tinshi the pe yakuri. Command left at the kosong ying de waina, command on the Ziongarwa. Namya you the kosong the go gani mateke. We put the dim and dong zoom and this is de waina. Kuma yungo do me to hako gorwa. Petina indinania. Tinshi jiuge ani nimong cargo ni tinshi jiu ni mok dong zong si. 어떤데 소야 요리.
So mindfulness and alertness are like the guards. Those that are standing guard. You know, if you have a guard like that posted, then you don't need to worry about a thief getting in and stealing something. Whereas if the thief has already entered in, then they're going to be taking something. So by posting the mindfulness and alertness as guards, then they will be able to prevent the thieves of distraction and delusions from entering in.
랑고 시네 이시 랑세 깨지 많이 래. 근데 인도 마드페 따드텔라 사란사. 그때 이제도 지바리도 랑고 시나 이시. 다다 나랑서 뉴몽다 이시니데 뉴 랑고 마세요 왕그 뉴몽을 차대 요리 마도 랑고 시네 코랑그 예네 생그 예는 어디 시송아이나 코라 이시리. 랑세 깨지 만들래 랑세 깨지 마세야데 다다 냠자 시니 값 냠자 시니 값은 대부 똑부 지사 만당 마오부 똑바랑 마서 다다랑가 똑바 딜라양 대부 똑바 마오부 똑바 다다 똑바 다다 똑바 딜라양 대부 똑바 마오부 똑바 다다 똑바 르메 이거 파츠네 심지 데이드 자네 뉴마 심지 집을 심시나 뉴마 리지 집에 이시시야 디 토라세 너야데 깨지 만들래 근데 진도 가야 요 말이지 다가랑리 거리다 근데 인도 마드 따뜻해라 사랑 잡지 다 대심도 송거리 심 차와 뉴마 린지 집 심데 아니 심네 어디 거리 수말이 사랑 잡
You recognize their nature, it is primordial wisdom. Except for this momentary mind of yours, samsara and nirvana are not established as anything else. Please always watch over the mind. So this is really wonderful if we can recognize the true nature of those afflictions. It's because we don't recognize their true nature that we become subject to them and disturbed by thoughts and delusions. But by recognizing them for what their true nature, then we have no. Then they are primordial wisdom, then they are transcendent wisdom. And so how do we do that? No, by honing in on that present moment of awareness, the very present moment, not attending to thoughts of the past and the future. And we keep on refining that. As we come to that present moment, we again divide that into present, past, and future, and discard the past and future and hone in on that very present moment of awareness. And again, looking at that present moment of awareness, dividing it into past, future, and present, and honing in on the very present moment of awareness. And in this way, focusing on the very most profound, most subtle nature of our own mind. And if we're going to find, the root, the key to liberation and bondage, samsara and nirvana, that's exactly where we'll find it, right in the very nature of our own mind. And so, always watch our mind.
라세 낭도 맡았나 스로달라세 밤이 낭도 콘트롤 들어와나 사등다고 탐지시 다대 준조건 안에 직송이와 대대 직과 직장내야 사등 탐지 고요 장단이 고요 뜻이 고리 지바리노 라세 낭도 맡았나 스로달라세 타요 말이지 다대 뜻이 자고면도
Unless mind is tamed within, outer enemies will be inexhaustible. If you tame the anger within, all enemies on earth will be pacified. So this is clear, it has that same meaning as the verse that we saw into the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life.
생로 초시 마치는 누군 조야 정보자 신로 초시 진지면 산생 미장 다드소
If contentment does not arise within our mind, even if you have everything you could ever want, you'll be like a beggar. Those who are content and rid of clinging are always rich, even without possessions.
단디 나니 숙보세야다 땅보세야다 난축이 나니 시당텔라 주었다 노르다 밤조다 런주 하자 침보 요와텔라 산지 좀 되게 근데 송이 니마지라 산지 좀 되게 아니 윤중 호와던데 낭 윤중 호와시네 니마지라 아니 기롱 긴도 mam보지라니 다들 드라마지게 또 근데 뿔포지게니 슈바편에 들으세요. 슈바편인데 다들은 아니 잡고 사자가 슈바편 마모데가 집바편 니기 집바 다 가르치 그랬지 짐다세 시락 짐다세인데 다들은 나 기브 짜와테 사등들라 pe supo chimbo jin도 jo chimbo jin지 반jo chimbo jin도 애니 대랑에 모아시기 애니 사등들 하정을 포침보 진도 대랑에 모아 지금 민송이다 다 가르송 그 요리시데 애니 지니 코란지 사람들 다 사등들 조치야 돼 다 잡고살 야래 애니 사등들 뭐 침보이지 다 빵고들이 데 아마들이 다 대랑 모아 남겨서 말이서 애니 산지 좀 되게 개원 데이기요 공 소나이시 초사데 소나이시에서 다방 디 유거티니 마라 관계 짐바 강나지 짐바 치다면 맥바 짐바 냠바 되니지 짐다 빠몬들 용조 효시 짐다 아마데게 방고데게 맹성되네 산지 좀 되게 되라 뭐 나네 아니 뭐 참 하래네 니지 몰라 가요 뭐도 아니 산지 좀 되게 담보 사등들 주 치슈 그 뭐들은 애들은 근데시는 모아 남긴 송송 아니 오늘 신데 잡고 사자 때 주침보로 가르치나 사운드 아니 니도 밖에 야 그런 거 로마가 야 드라나 근데 산지 좀 되는데 그 드레 주침보지라 아니 모아 남긴 송송 아니 저 가야 메리 빠모지라 모아 나서 대 가르리 시드잖아 아니 산지 좀 되는데 그 주치슈데 빠모 되는다 혹시 가인세나 초시 하자 초시 침보지도 없어 초시 초시는 노진 초 인성이라 초시 써야 돼. 뭐랑아 빠모이 말라카야메 삼바케 삼로치가 요마. 뭐랑 배치보이 삼바 다른 뭐랑을 유저도 뒤니 모델 산지 좀 된데라 실라라 푸는 뜻이라와. 되겠지. 아니 산지 좀 된데 그 뭐랑 그 맹리 송되네. 아니 고아나데 네들의 저 침보지라 잠블링나 속깔라 미주 그 배저 침보진지 그 뭐지라 아니 뭐 안난게 인송도 뭐 참하게 저보사 잘라 난거리 상노와 근데 산지 좀 되게 뒤빠모도 나래 단디 나니 주치종스야 돼 난주 그 나니 시엔데 나랑주 다단 지어다 빰조다 강바다 빼샤다 뜻이 유주되라 산지 좀 되게 아니 단 뇨다게 존르지 허르지 뇨다게 줘 동할까 잡아 어때리 소고요. 주치시도 가래리 시도잖아요. 아니 초시. 아니 초시 뒤진게 아니 생을 되지요. 생을 십대요 돼. 그 주치시 되리 소고요.
In regards to this, there was a time during Buddha's life when a great king Khenpo Seje, not sure if it's King Bimbasara or King Prasanajit, was offering a feast to Buddha and Sangha. And at the same time, there was a very poor beggar woman who had managed to make some little contribution to the feast as well. And Buddha announced that he was going to make a dedication of the positive energy or the merit that was created through the offering to the one who was the richest in the land and not the one who was the poorest. And as he got to the end of his dedication and then came to mentioning the name in whose name he was going to make the offering, he named the beggar woman. And so people were completely surprised by that, assuming that the richest person in the land would be the king himself. And so one of the disciples, an arhat, asked about that. And Buddha said that the beggar woman was actually the richest, because she was full of contentment and just admiration for the offering that was being made. No sense of lack in her mind, that she was poor or anything like that. Whereas the king, with all of his possessions, had attachment to those, and as such, they, as Buddha explained, were the cause of just that much more problems and suffering when you have attachment to possessions. So that made the king the poorest in the entourage. So Buddha made the dedication in the name of the beggar woman. If contentment does not arise within your mind, even if you have everything you could ever want, you'll be like a beggar. Those who are content and rid of clinging are always rich, even without possessions. When you accomplish wholesome worldly activities, as well as dharma and virtues, habitual tendencies arouse mental joy. This causes you to take birth in the higher realms.
Churani se gom jabde de kapse tambo shine gom any shine ka thoni any semla desar mato ba nyam la so ba che de chane ti kapse gawa sia che yong yori any lamthong ka kapse semla dewa ta gawa si yong yori te ti kapse gabde si yong yori tangmone gabde de gawani yong yori se de sangha ka kapse sem khorang la tambo gawa ta parde dewa Sumba linchi gawa, any jibatela chod gawasi. Siktila. Tambo gawasi ate any naju satambo rabdo gawasi gadoa. Satambo tela menta do rabdo gawasi, the tambo tong to Jane, Tony Gatawa, to which to the tone, and lose a tone to Jane. Hajan seen a gawachimbo on her side. There be the Yakon, the column pender, be it Tolam, the Jolam, Tolan, the Golan, and baking the Yaswaina, and it tela Gawati chir rodi, and it Gawatela, Gawa, Dewa, and it Linchi Gawa, and it Chot Gawasia. The younger sorry. That tea Gawata Devasia de, and it Luke Sina got the Teta Kumari, Magasina got the Teta Kumari. Same Koranga Sina Juchitane. Same Koran can let you down, Tendrisi and any, Sangaman turns of Banza de, Bonnie Chai Tony, and Bay in the Banza Yosuzo by the Bantosa Yosuzo by the Dog. Same Koran, Bena, Shini, you are the Shin to Tinsine. Shini induced Darren to any main barangari. The name that an Tato Shini got made a say no Koran. Bettina, Koran seemed like Sim Darren to Jani. Same Koran same bank yuri, so yuri. Look gave a same bank to Gumari, Nagi gave a same bank to Gumari. This is a so sagari, Druba Yankari Mato, Tato Bank to Gumari. Then any Gawasiate, and the same Gatoni on Goyuri. All the this one. The Mambo Chas.
When you accomplish wholesome worldly activities as well as dharma and virtues, habitual tendencies arouse mental joy. This causes you to take birth in the higher realms. Okay, so this mention of mental joy cannot be provided by physical or verbal actions. It's difficult for some physical action to provide mental joy, or from verbal action, verbal practice to provide mental joy. It's primarily through meditation that joy of the mind is developed and experienced. First of all, with shamatha type of meditation, as we develop calm abiding, single-pointed equipoise of the mind, then there's a certain degree of bliss that arises in the experiences of bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality that arise from shamatha practice. Then, in addition to that, when vipassana, insight, is added into that, then deeper, greater degrees of bliss are experienced in the mind. And then particularly in the practice of Tantra, even greater degrees of bliss are experienced. Rinpoche mentioned 4 degrees of bliss, which he called joy, bliss, innate joy, and supreme joy. And so as one experiences these and achieves the paths, for instance, at the path of seeing, when one attains the first ground, that is called the very joyful. Because when one has that insight into the nature of reality, emptiness, there's a great joy that comes along with it. So that first ground of the Arya Bodhisattva is called the joyful one. So it's through meditation, and so an example is given is if you like rub 2 sticks together so that they catch fire, then the sticks themselves are also consumed. Okay, so but through meditation, it's as if we're rubbing the mind, we're creating friction there with what we're doing in our mind, that then consumes ordinary mind and delusions and discursive thought into pristine awareness. So that's the sense of the bliss that we experience in the mind being the result of our meditation.
나서 박차되게 토리기에 시야데 박차시야데 말한주 다다 야보지 삼도다나 말한주 삼데 시위 윤보 속에 요팅 걸 마시야되게 무사 캄바즈 보다 모라즈 보뇨 자벨레나 깨라치 보야 시위 윤보 주이팅 거다 마다 하tin 윤보리 세거도 마드시 하tin 윤보리 मत पे जो चिंबोरी मत केटा चिंबोरी सियाते जुंबचे योगे ताते हाजे यापोरी सियाते चिंतुसा जिसो खो랑 간다 야보지 상로 당와이나 마랑초 니마질로 참만 로야리다 니마질로 참만 마다바다이 니마질로 시는 마시는 시거와 다 남부 추대 지와 스마 지와 쳔들레 장 지와 스마케 친보라 던데지 상로 당니지 이와이나 다 스마 고야 된 것처럼 가래 고도 쓰듯잖니 단 니니 좀바나시 세라 가와지네 세고 토라서 아tum니지다 다들 지금은 주부 깔에 잡는데 강강발라서 받으신 두제 잠아이 봐 세고 토라 사미기 잘라지 사미기 응우보지 띵지 메리크 사미기 너르지 가지고 답보자 터야지 대소마이나 아니 가서 시인이 못해라 박차 대인 토리지시 대지분 가지고 생기 가지고 지선당 그리지 내가 가서 쪼그리지 치카양 대게 쪼그리지 바르드 값이야 대게 쪼그리지 기와 스몰레이나는 데네 데베 람든 로야데 대게 티로 그리지 다들 말하는 뉴제치 강바당 잘라당 단 드라문당 의당 로보다 조모당 다 같이 시나 마시나 그래서 거기 챈들 같이 늘나래 마도 내가 찔러 핀시 그러 아니 다통라이네 같이 늘나래 마도 이 핀거 말이지 어다 너도 대시에 그러더니
There's mention in this verse of habitual tendencies arouse mental joy. Habitual tendencies is the translation of Tibetan Bagcha, meaning imprints or predispositions. So, normally people think of people who are very successful in the world, who became very rich, have a lot of property, very famous. We think people tend to think, oh, they're so great, they're so clever, that's so wonderful they've been able to do that. However, that's all going to disappear. And what do we really need? We need joy of the mind, because this is something that will carry us through into future lives by creating the imprints and the predispositions in our mind for the Dharma. This will protect us in this life. It will protect us in the intermediate state, or the bardo between lives. It will protect us into the future lives. It will be what leads us from happiness to happiness, in a path, an ascending path of spiritual development. And only that will help us at that time. All of the other material possessions that we put so much attention into getting, possessions, wealth, friends, partners, how many we have or don't have, it's not going to matter at the time of death. What's going to matter is these imprints, these predispositions for Dharma that we've developed in our mind. That's what will make a difference then.
대야마다 코와이 가봉올 어다 대야 바차대 토리지 대야마다 코와이 가봉올 대바나 똥바르 통데 탈람지 휴던직된 사와나 말레 동하는 용화다 콘로시당 도 차소 니모도 부진다는 민송송도 제베지요스.
That is also impermanent. It is samsara. So this causes you to take birth in the higher realms, but that is also impermanent, the samsara. When looking at the essence of joyful feelings, you see they are empty, and this is a cause for the path of liberation. Suffering arises from unwholesome spiritual and worldly activities. If you follow after thoughts and afflictions such as hatred, anger, and desire, it will cause you to take birth in the three lower realms. To be born in any of them brings about unimaginable torment.
라소 단 디나니 대야마다 코와이 시야데 칙데 야마 딕드자니 디사마데 와친도 등에 가서 빼 망보지라 따이 대니 다데 다나 다데자 아니 대야마다 코와이 시야데게 제당 공게 시에데게 마치 추 세나 가와지바다 바차당 아니 토리를 찌나양 토리세야데 토리라다 맞잖아 소고요 안 되나 토리라다 맞아 산지 저 산지저 공방 독소문도와 토리라다 매장나 지와대야 내가 소난 그 찌리 대야마다 바리 호와리 강따장 니네 대야마다 호와이 시야데 토리장나 지야 대야마다 방 호와리 강이시는 가서 고원나나 당요 당 고와 동아기 점sol에 드라고 아니야 저거 산지저 공방 마터 빠드 아니 대와도 요마리 있어와티 어디 인사리 다들 가봉 오버 때바나 똥반 통데 탈람지 취든지 그 사와 남시 다들 저걸 시다 하모도 김도와
The reference to taking birth in the higher realms here is not referring to attainment of enlightenment, but rather attainment taking the higher rebirth in samsara, of which the best would be the human realm. So then what follows is the observation that, but even that is not an end in itself. It's impermanent, it is samsara, and so it's only with the attainment of full enlightenment that we become really free from all sufferings.
So
it's pretty clear here, so I don't think we need to much commentary on these words here.
ngor te be tong bare ya si o da te chi dung har sam me cha nyumo dung har kan chi chang si dan de gong de ni song sun de jie lo li si ni song sun de ji wa yin de dung har de ha ja sam je me cha ba yu si dan ni song sun de nya wa yi da de lo sun wa dan de na ni nyumo dung har kan chi chang si ina ya nyumo da dung har kan de chi so wa ina yang 다다 ngaran su mi kapsi wa ina ngaran su lutin di kapsi ina kanga da donga yong ni kapsu ale donga ko ngol te ba ina donga rang ni ma de pa kanga the ni kapsu kanga ko rang le te ba na kanga rang ni to rang ni ma de pa inde chane ane rang or te pe ane tong ba la yan do ri o tong ba ya dile ishi lo na mi di tong ba la yali dile lo su che ba chi 아니 주인이시 밀랑이시 사르비시 냠니이시 서도이시 이싱아시 그요 아니 데이나니 주인이시 써야 돼 근데 데레 로서 줘봐도 주인이시 써야지 요 말이지 시당은 올 때다 그 동발에 한다는 이 동발의 주인이시 있어 그요
If you follow after thoughts and afflictions, such as hatred, anger, and desire, it will cause you to take birth in the 3 lower realms. To be born in any of them brings about unimaginable torment. Whatever afflictions or sufferings occur, by looking at their essence, they vanish into emptiness. There is no way for wisdom to revert from that state. So, being overwhelmed by hatred, anger, and desire causes to take birth in the 3 lower realms of existence, the animal realm, hungry spirit realm, hell realms, which there's unimaginable suffering. But here in the human realm, when we look directly at the nature of the afflicted states of mind and the sufferings and see their true nature, we have the opportunity to see that they are in nature primordial wisdom. And what's mentioned literally in the text is the Dharma Dhatu wisdom, wisdom of the nature of reality, which is one of a set of 5 transcendent wisdoms, which are called mirror-like wisdom, equalizing wisdom, discerning wisdom, all-accomplishing wisdom, and the wisdom of the nature of reality. So in the human realm, we have this opportunity to look directly at sufferings and the afflictions and see their true nature, which is transcendent wisdoms.
아야 주로 컴퓨터에 그게 차오를 작아도 와서 봐
건강에 수급이 되시죠.
아야 그 진복이 신사리다 그 진복이 비슷한 야 랑신 됐다 만다에 다들 랑신 송아지 심송와라 축군도 송설 자세 시발해 심송도 봐 나나는 뒷바다니 시지다 탐지 베베 송시지 나네 대다 탈모죠
To not separate your mind from this and always guard your mind is critical. The entirety of the Dharma is encapsulated in guarding your mind. The Bodhisattva Shantideva spoke of how to guard the mind. For those who wish to guard their minds, this is brought about by mindfulness and introspection. As is said, all should diligently guard their minds. I fold my hands in reverence to such persons.
님보다 대다 디나는도 다단디 용수 조파 주사 차창게 디나게다 님보치 거로 왔다 라왕 타시라 담야리 그 당와가 나네 님보데 가레리 세오나 참말에 야본도도 님보데 샘송와라 축군도 마다 레레 샘송와라 축군도 송설 자세 희와래 샘송도 바 나나네 디바다니 탐제 나네 데다 탈모 조르시야다 디나네 차창도 되와치다 어디들이 야시
And so while all of these instructions to Lhawang Tashi are wonderful, the essence of it is right here. The entirety of the Dharma is encapsulated in guarding your mind, taking care of your own mind, watching your own mind, as Shantideva explained in this verse. And as the entire teachings are included in that, That's why he folds his hands in reverence to the person who is guarding their mind.
이송 이인의 냠내 지대서 초도 연낭고 심이 지부 총철의 balance 심힌 출.
Practice in accordance with what is said here is critical. That being so, the 6 collections of consciousness and all appearing objects are simply the magic display of mind's nature. Thus it is a mistake to think there is some agent who practices adoption and rejection.
네나니 초도 연낭대 생지부 총철이 있어야 돼. 또 남바게 따르고 나니 배 እንደ시만 못 다니다. 따르고 토니 초도 나와 주랑그 맥 나와 주랑그 다다 맥 나와 주랑그 맥 열는지 보여와대. 아니 인간 통하나 되다대 조금 말이지. 배지 차야와이나. 나랑 주 사자대 맥 배주 다는 맥디갈 대기요. 사자다질 배야와이나 사대. 아니 냐와트 순대이나 사자대는 그런서는 순자 차대래. 작색 사이에서는 조보 되게 챙으로 있다. 아니 추어다지는 나랑 순로와 먹게 추어대. 소차도 너무 mam보지게 추어대. 아니 통거유다. 동화세제리. 아니 냐당 소이나는 내들의 심지도 서로 그런전 강발이 추어대. 그런전 내나와 그 강발이 그런전 내살. 아니 살을 드시 차대요. 아니 예달은 나도 차차로 아니 냐와서라 추어대 초축만 아니 던데 차가요. 배디나이 추포바 강나 로와 리도라 난초 쪽탐바 차가요. 던데 인데 자네 나랑주 맥체마라 띠네. 맥체마라 띠네 와보고 나 체메 줍네 타지네 데데마리 데즈마리시네. 그 남이야 타지에 두고 말. 어떤지 이시.
With reference to the 6 collections of consciousness, here refers to the 5 sense consciousnesses and the 1 mental consciousness. And there's a lot of explanation that's given about this in the explanation of Buddhist philosophy and the tenet systems. But one facet of that is that, in the what appears to us in our sense consciousnesses is specific to us. We see, this place that we live as the human home, human realm. Someone who's in a hell realm, in the same area, same place, maybe seeing weapons, maybe seeing all kinds of fighting, all kinds of terrible suffering. Or to take the example of one object, such as what we would experience as water in the human realm, based on the projections of different life forms, they would see it as something different. A fish might see it as their home. Someone caught in the realm of desperate spirits, hungry spirits, or pretas, might see it as pus from blood. Someone in the hell realms, seeing it, would see it as molten lava, whereas someone in the God realms, in the Deva realms, would see it as ambrosia, as nectar. So, to base our observations of objects, to believe that that's what they really are, that they're established from their own side as that particular object, is impossible. We can't do it because, and this is an example to contemplate on that, because from different perspectives it looks like something completely different. It's definitely dependent upon our own perspective.
Oh yeah. Ronyo lam chirin cho yin jang le dang boy gazak tawan tola juba hip mili tam jo ni ga shi chwa mata yang yang san lem de limi ngi shi ji. Oh yeah.
Even though taking things onto the path as an equal taste is supreme, for the beginner let your view be high and your practice precise. As it is said, the human form with its freedoms and advantages is hard to find. Tawa to nyamne. Thinking over and over about death and impermanence give rise to certainty about the infallibility of karma and its effects.
ronyo lamchir siya te karishye ke rishide tawan tumbo yin dangdo se ne te sang ronyo lamchir siya te ke tawan tumbo yin dangdo se ne ni nga tawan tumbo yin ani chi tawan tumbo yin ani lo nga ke juba karishye na ndikiri siya anda tang tawan chitsam to na juba te za ship song yure te ma yin ba siya ne ani ronyo lamchir siya te tawan tumbo na ni roya te la se ke yure te shi ning ka ma ri so ma ri de na ni 나와 지점 토나야 주바데 잠도 쉽거리지 다 간자데 남부 추근하니 레 준비랑 가서와 이나 나랑도 다다 마이지다데 가리츠고 유리시는 남바 상제과 추 마이지다데 몇개 주봉 그 추tum 레 준비들이다 디나니 상제 좀디든 가서와 이나야 남바 많이 바차도 니가 요다 나 따완 튼보 상제 인시 레 준비라 마치바 이나 나랑 추 야만 달러 마송다 킬로 달러 마송다 작사다데 가리 뜨는 거고 요리시디 자네 레 줌데라 츠근 도와면도 주바 텔은 퉁고 도와면도 디톤에 하고 요리 따와 그 가리시 나가 저 하가래 거야 그런 거 따완 통고 요나 막간다 대인들 자네 사 그러를 보지게 따완 남칼린 토장 주바 박세를 십 박세스는 짬바나지 희비시 거리지 레줌레들아 어딘지 인도 자네 대성구 유리 윤지 때를 띠네 네 담전이 가와 치마다 봐 레줌레 대배 맛이 개치 모르지 때나야 난중 다야요 말지 가실을 근데 여러 나 따와 좋기 나 따와 서자지 뭐 있어야 하네 레줌레를 싫다 쯤하고 근데 뭐 여러 어떻게 nimbu토네 영어로리 타이 근들 소요 nimbu토네
What's being implied here is that there are those who do not act in this way, and that's something we see kind of prevalent these days, where this reference to the view being of equal taste, being supreme view, it's the idea that you see the true nature of all things, that they're all equal. And if someone takes that, their supposed realization of that as justification or rationalization that they can therefore do anything whatsoever in their conduct, then that's extremely mistaken. Because the more elevated our philosophy and our view becomes, it will make our respect and intention to follow laws of karma more intense. As Guru Rinpoche said, even if your view is as high as the sky, your conduct should be precise, just as fine as sand or as powder. So, if somebody does excuse their careless or harmful actions because they supposedly have such a high view, there's a danger that they will really leave the teachings of Buddha completely, because what is the foundation of Buddha's teachings? It is observance of the natural law of cause and effect, of interdependence. And so if somebody disregards if somebody disregards karma completely, then they're really falling outside of Buddha's teachings. So let's say, Gary.
다 남부 추근하니 먹기 쭈뽕 그 수tum 때 다장같이 많이들 차들 잡아. 문내 뒤에 때 마스 개침 버리다. 다 야포지 상황이 대랑 가서와 있는 산지 있는 양 nga sanje in se mege chi pon chutum sung ko mi sewa ina telang gan le jum de la nyo zo to ne tende chi sungwa ina ta nga zo pe ma si kala tende in du chani nga chu nang ba in da mi ge che ji yak sa da te jaman da la ma song da kilo da la ma song da jak sa da te le jum de ge thon ro ko do me do le jum de ta mege chi pon ko chutum tang demba ta ta din da ti thon ro ko me do 다 디토는 가서 하고 마도 코 따와 도미 있어야 돼 코랑 가리 남는데 그러와 가자대 나 따와 동보 있으려 가지고 따와 하고 매와 동금매와 어디 차도
And in particular, in regards to guarding natural law of cause and effect, it's the abandoning the 10 non-virtues. No, this is really the foundation. And so, if we're going to try to take the measure of whether someone is practicing Buddhist teachings or not, this is what we should look at. It's like the scale. Are the 10 non-virtues being abandoned or not? Because as far as someone's view, their internal perspective on things, we can't really see that, but we can see the actions. And if the actions go against, keeping the 10 virtues, then even if somebody says, I'm a Buddha, and then they do all these things like killing, stealing, and so on, then it's not really Buddhist teaching. So this is really the ultimate measure of whether we are still practicing Buddhist teachings or not. We need to look to this foundational level.
Drangda drangza tongwe tse norje gumi shibaranzu. Khan yik drangtong tongwe tse do khan dune khan chim shibaranzu. Yidan zawa drangtong tse rangi nimza dimbaranzu. Yina mendo lawar tse ranglan songwa dimbaranzu. Oh, las tate.
And thus, there's the mention of it, if we don't respect natural law of karma, then we won't find another human form. As it is said, the human form with its freedoms and endowments is hard to find. Thinking over and over about death and impermanence give rise to certainty about the infallibility of karma and its effects. When you see or hear of another's death, know it to be a warning for you. When you notice the changes from summer to winter, recall that everything is impermanent. When you catch sight of bees with their honey, know that possessions are unnecessary. When you see a house or town that is empty, consider it as your own home or dwelling. When you see others have parted ways with their friends, recall your own close relations. When things suddenly happen to others against their will, remember that such things could happen to you as well. So this is all telling us about impermanence, the transitory nature of things.
무슨 조란도와 차상도 니나는 고도와 니나게 차상 무슨 조란도와 저 파조는 통키라 소수 단진 그 로그 찡네 대자와 있나 근데 봐서와 디인도 자니 소 파조니 마다반 통도 자니 통와다 투발라서 봐 용리 값을 디 다데 그 말랑라 알레 삼바치 그 말랑 그 디나니 딱 메다바 그 순춘달 마송의 저 쉬야 답이세 메다바 집좀 몰라래 배송이리 medkin shwan thongwe che le jumde tu ba lopong yin so yori manda shene tu desin thong ni kaps le jumde tu ba lopong mata ba tu ba lopong la so patende lopong se ate lama se ate thi gang yog de ni jing jing ni ko ma da wa ya bo ji sang lo tang wa yin le jumde tang la pa ta ta mata pa ti korte ma chu che cho ka na ni pe na sa je chom din de la nim종 지사들 라메 소문도 와 산제 좀 뒤인데 문이 남바 매와 코랑 그 남바 담봉 고추 코랑라 당보 님정 제사 그 이제들 가리 용리 시들 제와다 가와다 나와다 치와디 이제데 코랑 그 맥은 통네 디 진케 아니 코랑라 그 마세네 아니 님정 제네 로쁜 야슈드 데리노와 게기 야슈드 데리노와 어든지야 나오
So impermanence is not something that's been created by the Lama in talking about it. You know, none of these things that we're talking about are fabrications. They're actually descriptions of reality, descriptions of things that we can see it's happening, being the real nature of things. If we look around us, we see all these signs of impermanence, as are mentioned here, with possessions or towns or houses or friends and relations. So, you know, if we remain clinging to permanence, even as we see all of these things, or believing in the permanent sense of self, even as we see all these things, it won't do. It'll just lead to more problems and suffering. And so, like Milarepa said, you know, when we see the deaths of others, this is the master who teaches us about impermanence and natural law of cause and effect, karma. Even Buddha, you know, he didn't have anyone who ordained him as a Buddhist. No, he wasn't a Buddhist to begin with. So where did his impetus, you know, to spiritual practice come from? It was upon seeing aging, someone who was aged, someone who was sick, someone who had died. You know, it was these that were the spurs to his seeking spiritual development, and it was only after that he saw a renounced ascetic. But it was through receiving teachings from the actual nature of reality as we see it in our very existence that we develop ourselves.
야야 란시 탐치 물란다 딤버 트파 드르자미 란시 좁기 말레 뉴머랑 짱와치 신앙 추고 동반이 쌀동 순조 카다 또 대내 동다 산추 삼신이 대달 마신 로아나 중지 왕근 고안참 동안 용라 체미베 니지 주미 쇼라지 대내 공접 산추 센지 now that the but
self and other, everything is as a dream. There isn't even the slightest thing which is truly established. When you maintain the natural state as it is, without spoiling or fabricating your mind, the emptiness of all inner and outer phenomena is realized to be the sky-like union of clarity and emptiness. That is ultimate bodhicitta. Migrating beings who do not realize this wander in samsara under the influence of dualistic apprehension. Limitless and unfabricated compassion naturally arises for those who undergo such torment. This is relative bodhicitta.
야소 다 되게 나니 가르팅기도 시티잖아 또니가 따와대라 냠자세나 시그리다 또니가 따와대라 냠자세나 곰자와이나 갑자기 곰자함니 값은 아니 또니가 따와 코랑데 된다 사주 심바시 아니 대달마도 부심진데 닌지 대내 다다 냠자시네 또니가 따와 또 돼와 대달마도 부심진 탐지 슈레 맥빈인지 심지레 맥빈인지 미미레 맥빈인지 닌지라 나바소요와 디나니 심지레 맥빈인지 때 대달마도 부심진데 나 녀리지 삼바지게 아니 돈이 따와되는 무초박에 대 받지 못이 지야돼 아니 공조 사주세 어디서도 와.
So the ultimate bodhicitta being referred to is with that altruism based in compassion, then having insight into emptiness, to the nature of reality. And as one is having that realization, then one feels compassion for those who don't see it, who don't realize it. And from that develops universal compassion and irreversible determination to attain enlightenment for their sake. And this is the relative bodhicitta, the spirit of awakening. Oh, Rinpoche, yeah. And then Rinpoche mentioned 3 varieties of compassion. There's compassion for sentient beings themselves, and there's a compassion observing phenomena, which means the beings who grasp at permanence. And then there's what's called the unobjectified, objectless compassion, which is compassion for beings who are clinging to a self that doesn't truly exist. So in this case, Rinpoche is saying that we were looking at the state of sentient beings who are suffering so much and not able to realize this, and then out of that we develop this compassion for them. Lotus.
Lotus. Ninjin zimi tombardo tomburanza ninjisha sunjon doha chuji ning nyamni pupon dalzusi. Ta toni ninji nimbo chi sanchu duba kachi lao sumba na yindi nani. Gangla tomba ni yona teju la ninji chimbo yusi. Ninji chimbo seyate da tomba ni seyate ni donji menga namdang le mato ji bachade yuri. Denda sanchu sim seyate le shek yuri. Denda sanchu seyate tomba ni le shek yuri. Tendi yinba songzang ninjin zimi tombar tomburanza ninji shalsi loha songju chudi ta donda toni ka tawa da sanju ko sin ninji chimbo ni nyamni se ne ani tendi chi se ne sowa yina chugi nyimbo de ris tendi yinba songzang Lhawang Tashi churang ke si tendi Lhawang Tashi la dambarwa tendi yindu zani churang ke si kanza Lhawang Tashi churang ke and nyamne ko pupo de nyamne kan tharte ane ko toni ka tawa da sanchu ko sim inji chimbo ni ran zo o de da.
Without grasping at compassion, realize its emptiness. Compassion, the spontaneous energy of emptiness, will emerge. Union is the essence of the teachings of sutra and mantra. You should engage in this profound practice. So really the ultimate and relative bodhicittas are of one nature. Having that insight into the nature of reality, one feels compassion for others, and the nature of that compassion itself is the selflessness and emptiness. So they're really of the same nature. And here, the instructions that's being given to Lhawang Tashi is that these 2 bodhicittas, the ultimate and conventional bodhicittas, are really the very essence of practice. So he's being urged to focus on this as the main essence.
Main practice, right?
Main practice.
Law. Essence is in the kare. Nimbo.
Ningbo.
Main practice. That you let Jim top Sosa la to contempsa. Bonjour la soada, la memo net news. That is according in other chiridoa. Nimbu nani nimbo in dinani kare songo city tani gang tinimara. Any Tangaranju did that number con the Simpson in the Batnam and the Timbatani Shivita, Solar Papa Sushi, Dani did a thermo job, so he shall de son yuri, and it ain't Yamichi, they taller, and it only got out of Sancho Cassini in Yamichi. That didn't need to chew new bodies. That didn't need a new body, see ya. And in Lagananita. That didn't in Lade, did that June achieve a top sosa? Lad can't have sauce. Bonjour la soada. That did June achieve a tabla, 돈이 그 따와다 산주 셈때 니 줄을 집에 탑라 가래 고리시듯잖아 담보 초사 고리시 예단이 진보가 초사 르장세네 니 뭐만 따와데 또도와 그러나 롭정세네 뭐만 따와데 또면도와 갑자기 린다와라 야 푸네 린다와라니 린다와다 아니 라마 오마와 침보도 수고라 야 간디슈네 아니 날 돈이 그 따와라 고아틱스 차송 따로 돈이 그 따와도 용수 좀 참아 또봐 줄을 지 마송 가르치 거리시대 아니 탑시 가요 매네 아니 지는 잠배양을 가르치네 잠배양은 무슨 지를 붙이 가르치는데 아니 잠배양 다처럼 초사지시 르장지시 초사 르장지 가인세는 돈이 그 따와 그 멈춘 소대 득바다 드바리시 대가 예담 잠배양이네 저랑 난투고 말이지 저랑 랑것이 이거야지 근데 이제 자네 초사 르장지 요소 아니 갑자기 그런 건 코르타파 남제시야 용도지 티네 아니 초사들 장난 데세도 초사들 장난 데세인데 갑자기 아니 타격들아 아니 뒤지니 돈이가 따와대 뭐네 뭐마가 따와 신경 말로 봐대 따와대 똑바 줄이지네 근데 성도와 뒤나네 대성 거 요리 다 대다들 줄을 집에 탑라 돈이가 따와도 산주 그 세대 줄을 집에 탑라 가르치고 있으니 초사네 초사이나 든바당 산지야당 아니 주발라서 받듯이 거래. 아니 가총도 미게 개치 모시는 것을 내다 뭐 봐. 강탑시 거지. 아니 지갑가라 아니 고쳐서나 소와다 거지. 아니 라마는 먹으시고 라마나 산지 운동고 먹고 내가 넣으셔야 돼. 무슨 거라도 가라나 타지네. 삼지 라마를 매 봐. 아니 눈지 라마 손들을 매 봐. 대신에 대치고라시 거리서. 어디서 손야. 나서
The method for having such things arise in our mind stream is to accumulate wealth of merit. Take all of it into your own hands. Pray to the three jewels. Take devotion to the Guru as the vital point. So here we move into some supporting practices or branches or methods for what we've just said was the very essence of the practice. To watch one's mind, to take care of one's own mind. As Shantideva said, for those who wish to guard their minds, this is brought about by mindfulness and introspection. As is said, all should diligently guard their minds. I fold my hands in reference to such persons. And with what end in mind? Developing the conventional and the ultimate bodhicittas. That's really the very essence of the practice. But how do we go about doing that? What are the methods for doing this? And that is to gather accumulate a wealth of merit, praying to the three jewels, through devotion to the Guru. Because, what obstructs our understanding is the obscurations and the defilements in our own mind. And the only way we can really remove those is through practice of purification and gathering positive energy. Tsongkhapa had to do this. He was receiving teachings from his gurus Rendawa and Lama Umapa, and he said, I have this understanding of the middle way of the of profound emptiness, but I'm not quite sure about it. But just asking them about it and receiving teachings on it, that wasn't enough. That wouldn't do it. And then Tsongkhapa had direct communication with Manjushri, and Manjushri explained this to him, saying, yes, it's these stains and obscurations in your own mind, so you need to purify yourself. You need to gather the accumulations. And so it was with this advice that then Tsongkhapa, with 8 pure disciples, went into retreat, did very extensive, intensive practices of purification and accumulation of merit, and then had his realization of direct realization of the selflessness, the ultimate nature of reality. So this was this was how it happened. Yes.
Hola so. Ani raji digle toba de chini gebe lela ko to ba chimbu simji da namdang ho ramesa. Gilu yang pa yon chin. Hola so da de ke o de ni.
Encourage yourself and others to avoid wrongdoing, and however you can, engage in virtue. Do not separate yourself from the bodhicitta of the great vehicle, nor from pure dedication of your merit.
Di chathangde lama la sowa daya, Kongtrul la sowa daya. Dambo chosa dubjangsiya, chosa yin la dubetoni dubjangsiya. Niba de la Kongtrul la sowa daya, sumba de lama la muhisiya. Ani dikpe le lan zimba, ani jinu ke gewa la zumba. Ani sancho ke sim, ngowa. Da desu kor chathangde, ani toni topu jula, toni topa. So
all these practices of purification and accumulating of merit in relation to the three jewels and to the guru, avoiding wrongdoing, engaging in virtue, making offerings, prostrations, persevering in study and practice. All of these are methods for developing that insight into bodhicitta, the ultimate and the relative bodhicitta.
Hola, so da de ke gilu ya de pa yon chi. Devin dry Sunday, so Jamgön Lodrö Tayé, Khenpo doesn't buy it, said that Japan Tashi, 20 shows. That in Zebsange, Yakura Poka Kadisiko you meet down, and in Zebab Sui meet down, Zebab or the country you meet down, and it in a monam, all in the children's.
The spiritual practitioner known as Lodrö Tayé, an old yogin does nothing but eat, sleep, and defecate, composed this to clear up some things for Devendra, a virtuous-minded person whose magnificent qualities are like the waxing moon. May you have long life and master Dharma practice, and may the twofold benefit be spontaneously accomplished. So here in this last verse we get mention of the author's name, the recipient of the instructions, and the admonition, the urging of the disciple to practice, and dedication prayer.
Also, and in Devin Dasia, the Lhawang Tashi, the Jerky, that is Sanskrit told to the Sonja Juridoa.
And Devendra there is the Sanskrit translation of Lhawang Tashi's name. In Sanskrit, Lhawang Tashi is a Tibetan name.
Oh, yeah. Any Gapon doesn't see nothing up a Navja Junduchi, Marangane, Yom Chong Sia, the Hajam, the Chonchoshi Sia, the people Lama the Sola, Chichuchi Yuri, Kara Yuri Sidu, but Masin de Chonchoshi, Zappa Rinpoche, Tangone Tane, Georgie Party Artisha, Lapa, the Jasichi Bishala, was a book on John Pewa Naji Yuri, Zappa Rinpoche. Korangan Zebzang Shabla, Korangan Maintila, Chigin Seata, any Bangin Seata, Bango Seata. Tandinani, Jamgön Kongtrul Lodrö Tayé, Kongainaya, Zopasanjika, longest in the lit in the Jerite, Gapon doesn't buy it. Sa, Nyar, Tong, Tate Hetzamle Mato, Kai Shikami Siach, doesn't pass a telesecond. What the Sondwa?
So here the Lodrö Tayé, Jamgön Lodrö Tayé, referring to himself as the old yogi. The literal Tibetan is of the three occasions. It doesn't actually mention eating, sleeping, and defecating, but that's the implication. And so it's just an expression of extreme humility coming from him, just like we see from Kongtrul Rinpoche when he signs some of his compositions as the beggar, or as Karit Chiwa, Zapatrugi.
Japatrugi sina pango seanda, chigin seanda, all drop.
Chigin Sernagari. Chigin Sernagari.
Chigin sina all drop.
Ah, Kigin. So sometimes Zapatru Rinpoche refers to himself as the old dog, Patro, or the beggar, Patro. So this is a quality that's very much representative of the highest ideal in Tibetan Buddhist lamas and monks, is to have this kind of humility.
All so, any that taking a Terendalan Samjaki, any Tange, till long to man, the Rogi Chitang, a treat on in a long tinal and do the a long terema, Jopondo Yogi in Chiranambala. That is long jung alaya what you.
Okay, so now I've been asked to give a transmission of these instructions, and in general, as I go through it and say the words, the transmission is received. But I'll go through quickly now and just give a reading transmission of this, because I do have that lineage of the transmission.
Lodrö Tayé Shala Sora in the Lhawang Tashi Lanaway Shadang, whatever Mata Jimjira Kajula Messenger, the Alona Jula Juramoto Belam Sesho, Kajibu, Atishi, Mabumana, Jibunduna Sina, Jibando Dinjus on the Yene Nye Beraza, the Kana, Nye Barajo, Gola, the Zundani Dado Song, the Atom Jirangasi, Yene, the Zamtong, the Don Zang, Chome, so the Sibia to Bayana, Sitana Sanji, the Kalido, the Bushi, the Junia, Yi, Shiarabedia, Simia, Madame. Sanji Junano, Pama, Laya Koroji, Nama, Pajita, Lang Redo, Chadang, Jume, Jimelo, Minim, Chesi, Sodan Rodamantula, Kalubi, Devami, Chita, the Chu, Michele, the Yin, Chusanya, Yela, Dinaya, Tazi, Hang the Machesi, Ninjong Soma, Jibaga, Yuzi, Ling, Tunda, Chimney, Kablans, Najim, Gutawaji, Lama, the Jim, Lodadi. Sabakasane, Gipjaraji, Tony, Bana, Gene, Tamche, Ying, Soyan, Tudosa, Bani, Bedan, Lusoji, Alsarang, Ayane, Dara, Dandida, Tamche, Zawan, Rasin, Chizawa, Rasin, Chima, Simbele, Rasin, Kodra, the Bana, with the Jinasam, Ganodom, in my Lama Silan, Soma, Simira, Lamasani, Gipjoya. Tuno Dome, Graham, Gajonia, you wanted a bomb, good hidden around the you wanted to Ram, was in a Shinia, Secretary Madela, Foundation, the Ramada, Nanda Madonna, Sarora Sibame, and on the Kongtrul, Materna, Southern Dora, the Lidias in our Choshi, Madina, the good Tomodashi, Choshi, Indians, you can't all about Chudan, the synagogue by a Bajadian Tology, Madame Koya, the Bana, the body, and tell you, children, it is all now, I don't have any water, Kodo, Shed, and the Joss on the Motovadina, so the Judge, the Giadon, the Majan, you want to work at it. Ramara de Beadon Baraya, the Shilona Mera, Sinta, Damada, the Nonsense, Soma, yes, Soma, Chukundo, Sora, Jessica, Simon, the Wadana, the Wadana, she, the Adam, the Beberas, India, the Datamojo, the Song, the Lanyamin. The Senator, Yana, Gonsimi, Jibbe, Chumtra, the Abanasinas window, Lam Chen Choi, Jale, Tambo, Yakasa, Lodrö, Tanjani, Gashi, Choma, the community. Yinda Shivan Tongway, Ramadu Shivan, Yakon Juravan Tongway, Tam Jim, Dang Dang Sen Tongway, Norze, Grimmy Shivan, Kanshin, Donin, Kanchim Shivan, Jersey, Nado, Yinam, the Lover, Zeras, Yin Tam Jim, Lada, Dimmer, Treba, the Zameran, Senzo Jim, Malibanyo, Joseph, and you would want yes, I don't so you bother, Dodin, Donas, and Damish, Tene Kongtrul San Xin Yin Jian Zhi Me Dong Bra Do De Mong La Ni Zan Jing Jiu Dong Ha Ju Jie Nian Niang Le Pu Pong De La Do De Ju Ju Da Su Gu Da Da Su Gu Yu Su La Su Wa Da La Ma La Ma Ge Ne Da Na La Ye De Ne Do Ba Da Ji Ne Ge Le Ti Ba Jin Bi Sim Ji Da Nam Da Ho Lan Zhan Me Sa Ge Lo Ya De Ban Yong Jin De Win Da Ya San De Sa Ge Dong Lodrö Tayé Xie Gong Zhen Bai De Qi Dang Zhe Qu Zhe Da Xin Jin Dong Ye Sun Jue De Ba Sarva Si De Re De Mang Ga Lang Ola so samba ta nge samna churangin goni jol jigla yo jita ngate samgu yo pe ma se ya bon do wa samba churangin jigla ya wa ina ni ma so le la pa cha ting sa bo ji ni chudang khon nam ba la yo yo ri de nga chu ka che la thun na ya la ya de pe ke chim bo ri ya la nen de ya de o de yin ji mi ji la ro jin goni ju la gu ji.
Rinpoche would like me to read the entire text in order to plant a really deep imprint of this in our minds. Advice given to Lhawang Tashi by Jamgön Kongtrul Lodrö Tayé. I take refuge in Padmasambhava, O Kagyu Gurus. Please grant your blessings. Please turn the minds of faithful ones towards the Dharma. May we embrace the path of liberation beyond return. Atisha, the protector of the snowland, said, among many, examine your speech. When you stay alone, examine your mind. Briefly, he taught these 2 points. The mind is the root of faults, and the mouth is the gateway for these faults to emerge. Thus always watch over both. All of samsara and nirvana are your own mind. They don't arise from anything else in the slightest. Everything, such as joy and suffering, good and bad, high and low, are the conceptual constructs of mind. If your mind is pure, you are a Buddha. Wherever you reside is a pure realm. Whatever you do is from the state of dharmata. Whatever appears is the jewel display of wisdom. If your mind is of an impure nature, you'll see faults even in the Buddhas. You'll get angry even at your parents. Most things will appear as if they were your enemies. Expectation, fear, attachment, and anger will continue unabated. Such useless things will waste your life away. Whomever you associate with, there will be discord, and wherever you stay will be uncomfortable. However much you own, you won't be content. For everything you accumulate, you'll need that much more. Being distracted again and again by the appearances of this life, even if you think about practicing Dharma, you'll waste your life caught up in present activities. At first, when you feel a sense of renunciation, you feel like you could be rid of each and everything you own. Once you become intractable, you'll cling even to needles. At first, when you feel a sense of devotion, you won't think of anyone except your guru. After a while, you'll have wrong views. At first, when you feel a sense of faith, your spiritual practice will pile up one on top of the other. As you get older, all of this fades away. Whenever you find a new friend, you value their life more than your own. Once your enthusiasm fades away, you'll be upset with them as if they were your enemy. The root of all of these is not taking your own mind to be paramount. If you're able to make use of your mind, then you don't need to search for some other place of retreat. When concepts are absent, that is your retreat. You don't need to search outside for the guru. The nature of mind is the enlightened guru. You don't need to worry about other spiritual practices to be done. Being without distraction is the heart of spiritual practice. You don't need to deliberately abandon distractions. If your mindfulness is firm, things are spontaneously liberated. You don't need to fear that afflictions will occur if you recognize their nature. It is primordial wisdom. Except for this momentary mind of yours, samsara and nirvana are not established as anything else. Please always watch over the mind. Unless mind is tamed within, outer enemies will be inexhaustible. If you tame the anger within, all enemies on earth will be pacified. If contentment does not arise within your mind, even if you have everything you could ever want, you'll be like a beggar. Those who are content and rid of clinging are always rich, even without possessions. When you accomplish wholesome worldly activities, as well as dharma and virtues, habitual tendencies arouse mental joy. This causes you to take birth in the higher realms. That is also impermanent. It is samsara. When looking at the essence of joyful feelings, you see they are empty, and this is a cause for the path of liberation. Suffering arises from unwholesome spiritual and worldly activities. If you follow after thoughts and afflictions such as hatred, anger, and desire, it will cause you to take birth in the 3 lower realms. To be born in any of them brings about unimaginable torment. Whatever afflictions or sufferings occur, by looking at their essence, they vanish into emptiness. There is no way for wisdom to revert from that state. Do not separate your mind from this, and always guard your mind as critical. The entirety of the Dharma is encapsulated in guarding your mind. The Bodhisattva Shantideva spoke of how to guard the mind. For those who wish to guard their minds, this is brought about by mindfulness and introspection. As is said, all should diligently guard their minds. I fold my hands in reverence to such persons. To practice in accordance with what is said here is critical. That being so, the 6 collections of consciousness and all appearing objects are simply the magical display of mind's nature. Thus it is a mistake to think there is some agent who practices adoption and rejection. Even though taking things onto the path as an equal taste is supreme, for the beginner let your view be high and your practice precise. As it is said, the human form with its freedoms and advantages is hard to find. Thinking over and over about death and impermanence give rise to certainty about the infallibility of karma and its effects. When you see or hear of another's death, know it to be a warning for you. When you notice the changes from summer to winter, recall that everything is impermanent. When you catch sight of bees with their honey, know that possessions are unnecessary. When you see a house or town that is empty, consider it as your home or dwelling. When you see others have parted ways with their friends, recall your own close relations. When things suddenly happen to others against their will, remember that such things could happen to you as well. Self and other, everything, is as a dream. There isn't even the slightest thing which is truly established. When you maintain the natural state as it is, without spoiling or fabricating your mind, the emptiness of all inner and outer phenomena is realized to be the sky-like union of clarity and emptiness. That is ultimate bodhicitta. Migrating beings who do not realize this wander in samsara under the influence of dualistic apprehension. Limitless and unfabricated compassion naturally arises for those who undergo such torment. This is relative bodhicitta. Without grasping at compassion, realize its emptiness. Compassion, the spontaneous energy of emptiness, will emerge. Union is the essence of the teachings of sutra and mantra. You should engage in this profound practice. The method for having such things arise in your mind stream is to accumulate a wealth of merit. Take all of it into your own hands. Pray to the 3 jewels. Take devotion to the Guru as the vital point. Encourage yourself and others to avoid wrongdoing, and however you can, engage in virtue. Do not separate yourself from the bodhicitta of the great vehicle, nor from pure dedication of your merit. The spiritual practitioner known as Lodrö Tayé, an old yogin who does nothing but eat, sleep, and defecate, composed this to clear up some things for Devendra, a virtuous-minded person whose magnificent qualities are like the waxing moon. May you have long life and master Dharma practice, and may the 2-fold benefit be spontaneously accomplished. Sarva Siddhirastu Mangalam. Thank you to the translator, Joseph Faria.
라서 당가 저가 진도 어느 까마 가시지도 라서 아니 다들은 같이 주튼 나데 주튼데 찾으시 아니 당가지 시라마 몸도 당에 타돔지 아니 데라 기자지 시에적이 아니 당 아주 공도시반한지 오 sorry can you hear some I forget to turn
여보 거기도.
oh that's
Sorry.
right I forget to turn on the microphone okay 라서 아니다 아주 다른 라왕 자시를 담은 장군 컨트롤이 타야겠니 주된데 되는 참자 아니 다 망보시라면도 까마하시지면 좀도 아니 되라 아니 양 곰지 작이네 곰지 맞자.
Okay, as our session now draws to a close, having given the advice given to Lhawang Tashi by Jamgön, Kongtrul, Lodrö, Tayé, I'd like to end with meditation.
나도 당아리지 공시 여러 가지 티바세 삼바세 다듯이 참마데 사키에게 와란도 요리 다다기 베샤사네 베샤데 응앙나리 야고 당아지 베샤데 응앙나리 샤 베티나지 당아지 티 사키에게 와데 사미크나는 출 야고 출 야야데 곰자고 곰자와 이나 아니티 곰데게 찌심네 아니 그르치에데 아니 드랭게 게바 자와용소 좁아 참마데 주랑 해당 맞아 컨트롤 계산지 비치 갈래를 채나양 아니 심지 가양 고 말이 주랑 아니 계산이 딱딱 대대요 대 많이나 같이 니마 간상나 갈래 잡잡잡잡 아니 진충충 잘은 채인데 파 나는도 있잖아요 아니 이메지라 컨트롤 산다면다 시에니 유바지야다 진다면다 시나니 계산 제일이 인가요 어디에 있잖아요 계산 만제베 탑시나 아니 곰잠도 돈이 그다음에 지심 소화이나 아니 계산이 세게 말이지
The positive energy we've created through attending to these instructions, listening to the teachings, thinking about them, this is all that composite virtue that we mentioned. So now, let's take this positive energy and, like depositing money in the bank, let's preserve it and make sure that it's not lost. And the way we'll do that is by sustaining it with our meditation on selflessness, on the absence of independent existence of the three spheres of the action. So by sustaining it and sealing it with our meditation on selflessness, then let's preserve all of this positive energy that we've created to an uncontaminated form that will never be lost.
아니 곰자리 값속에 공도 시바나시 공라 담간도와 지랑주 maybe you can meditate this morning the Lama Kozin he give to you the very good teaching about the metta loving compassion and other one is the very simple I always say to this morning I reminded you can look at the object your mind is the center there how long your mind stay there steadiness movement and awareness these three things you can also think about this then little bit higher the meditation is I always say to the meditation is not this thinking mind it's really meditation is the Rigpa and Sinta Rigpa. Rigpa is different in the mind a little bit.
So Rigpa, or pristine awareness, is different from Sem, this context, referring more to ordinary mind.
Pena, Sinta Rigpa ni the Chiba Kadeshe dosina, Pena. The Richie Gomjawa in a single told there, same days, same Singwata, Mupala, but the Legic Tagdaki. Eti sayari pa zengto ne. Hak se anda chitende si de yate se sokpo ande se. Tende si ne ya sokpo zengto ne. Tamlang kata sokpo zengto ne. Ti kapsa rikpa te ya chete peyon ko. Rikpa te ya singpuda ne rikpa te ya chete peyon. Ti rikpa te ngola te ne. Hao gom jaya te zokpa chimbe gom. Saja chimbe gom la te dan rawo yo. Tate ngune se na ti tholan rotwa ina. Ta ngune trane gom chodu juba te rita. Lao. Ta kandida.
So Rinpoche was trying to demonstrate through his physical comportment there the difference between the ordinary mind and the Rigpa pristine awareness. First one was the ordinary mind, where he was kind of like fading a little bit, and the ordinary mind is the one that's prey to agitation and sinking, or sleepiness, and that whereas he demonstrated to bring forth the pristine awareness to, as he's kind of sat up with very attentive, intensive kind of focus, brought a lot more vividness into his awareness, and looking at that, the essence of that kind of awareness is where we find the pristine awareness of Rigpa. And so out of all kinds of meditation, this meditation on the pristine awareness, Rigpa, is the supreme of meditations.
Laso. Let's go meditate. Laso. Ani nga so gom jagi ina.
Let's meditate.
Hola so. And
I think we lost David. I think he must have lost his connection. He's entirely gone here.
okay. Hola so. Anita. Pache Devi. Lem kujuri. Ani. 다들은 아주 참대. 다 인지가 참대. 아니. Lhawang Tashi 담당아. 장고 콘트룰 타야 개니. 배 마시 순추 살랍치고. 아니 가담백게 비시니. 가담백 순추 나지 때문에 타네. 그래서 강한테 말아. 주주들아. 남몽고르다 방가라야 송도. 근데 방가라야 송고야 그 김치대야 유자 거랑 맞다 안 되잖아. 거랑 가담백게 비시니 남배 당화랑 되자. 근데 요한테 백게 김보래죠. 가자 마베 카시죠. 때 아니 카시라티 남몽고르다 방가라야시 하든도 카시는 뭐도와. 아니 데 매리치 근데 매나도 상수 마베 좀 된서 자리네. 카시에 마찬가지도 카시에 대해서 망다리도 다 지금 간주다 띵저도 저기 나는도 요 말이 됐다. 코레기 신발을 꾸야죠. 남타 되는 간도 없대. 아니 매일 낙바를 뒤야죠. 어떠시나도 다 계시는데 다 대치 차창만하지 통송. 아니 되는 전에 되는 거랑 그만이 있나요. 지난번에 주시죠. 합성. 아니 배 맛이 깔아서 뭐. 숑 아니 내 공도 쉬바나지. 그 자발라마 저기 상지된 저런 뭐 체게 자발라마데 아니 장고 공도 니바디 차대요 아니 장고 공도 숨바데 그 제주리 때 근데도 자는데 주겠지 더 주바나라 마송나데 당가라 냠니 투고요 말이 마도 냠니 투와이나 뭐네 주바 더 장고 노린 타에 그 손주 차마데 주바데 타니요 차대요 근데도 자는 배 가오쇼 아니 도치 제슈야이 당 어디 드레인 아니 주티 되듯이 차이 아니 남지 또 아주 참을 되니 값은 딱 와르시를 지나말라 되게 거시데 나들은 참을 되대요 삼바가 진시다 봐요시야데 그렇게 침보리 다 제당도 아주 소신 나는 되게요 매일처럼 좀 가르치고 동고요 말이 말한 거 삼도 지시에 되게요 니데게 차시게요 돼요 되지 뭐라게 자시야다 야말랑 도야다 진담을 용 시들어 더 강다장 가서다 니지 삼아 뒤직 소환하지 더 뒤출지를 마도 맞잖아 라고만 와 된대잖아 아니 참에도 돌려자로 지시셔야 oh Devi he's not there okay I want to say to the English that I am very happy to hear today I give the Lhawang Tashi Jamgön Kongtrul Tayé the text the text is really look like the 100% I can say Kadamba Gevhini, Kadamba Gevhisi the like the Lobjong Tsigima and eight verses training the mind. It's very similar. It's a very, very, very good text. I wish everybody can keep this, and just do the daily practice every day, read it. Read it and think about these things. Put in your heart. With the practice. This is I told you. Actually, I always remind you we are really so lucky. Actually, this Jamgön Kongtrul first Kongtrul Lord in Tayé is the amazing teachers. Oh. Amazing teachers. He's the first. This is the first Kongtrul. The second Kongtrul is the my root guru. Second Kongtrul is the 15th Karmapa son called but then changes. And then he gives, first Jamgön Kongtrul gives all his teachings, dharmas, to the 15th karma part. He gives to his son. His son, second Jamgön Kongtrul, gives to my root guru, Sanjay Tenzin. He gives to us in Tibet. Not only this text, all the Jamgön Kongtrul Lord in Tayé is the text. Zochi Nanga, Jachi Gamzu, Shivzanzu, Dawanzu, Gaju Hanzu, Rinpoche Tenzu. Why? Almost maybe 200 volumes, something like the bulk. Yeah, month, maybe more than 6 months. When I was young, he gave to the and my monastery to the Sanjay Tenzin, give to all the teachings. I am very happy to today share with you little mine. I don't have too much the experience. I little bit share with you because I have oral transmission. You can keep going the practice. That today is last our retreat. I just remind you, I know you stay in the home. I wish you can practice. Today is a holiday retreat. Right now, 4 o'clock. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Most people 10, 11, 9 go to the sleep. You know, we have a lot of hours. See. I wish you can practice more, read this book, read this text, do good things. Today we have only the 1 day retreat. Tomorrow's morning. Then Gambopa's teaching, I'm going to finish the last his teaching. Yeah, that's it. Today, no question and answer. So sorry. I am a little bit tired. I have rest. If I have 10 tomorrow, I take the question and answer. Okay.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. Thank you so much.
Good. Dajin Simjin Damje Lodrö Zendo Sinje Lamdo Sora Julamdo No Sinje Lamdo So Lantamba Sevar Sinje Lamdo Trabai Sen Chawara Sinje Lamdo So Daso Namje Chudam Tembaye Jetar Sambaye Yin Badan Nedoki So Badu Jibezu Shiva Sinja Labda, so Lonang Kane Medon Chachin Be, Lonang Kunja Sayen Your Began, but the Jigger Tamje de Dang, Tartun Songji Beda, Shi, Sho, Zobosan Jubala, Sodanandon Sivaye, but the Chiva Tamje, Yeva Shiva and Jina Deva Sosun Ho Pindinan Ka Kamara Sho Dona Dona Lagi Kova Dona Jam So Kimba Sho. Can you say the website for Gambopa or?
May all beings' minds turn towards Dharma. May let Dharma become the path. May the path be cleared of deception. May deception arise as innate wisdom. Tudiche Rinpoche, Karten. Thank you so much. What a precious, precious opportunity. What an amazing text. So clear, so powerful, so profound. Thank you so much. And here we have so easy. We just sit in our homes. We receive this beautiful teaching with this ancient, profound wisdom. Not like you had to work so hard. You had to go through so much to get every teaching you received. Thank you for sharing them so freely with us. Thank you so, so much. And I also want to say, if everyone wants to give Dana today, to Rinpoche, to take Kozen, to David Moak, our translator. You can do that through the Eventbrite website. I'll put it in the chat. It's on the website. Register for the retreat. You can give us a donation for the retreat. This is our fundraiser. And also give Dana to our teachers if you wish. It's always freely given, but thank you so much for the support. So.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Richo, Tujichi. Thank you. Let's see you tomorrow morning.